A Stupid and Futile Gesture was honestly great. One of the best biopics I've seen recently. Love and Mercy, the Brian Wilson one of the Beach Boys. I'd say this was just as good as that one. These are the best two I've seen recently, and all the critics hating on this movie is totally anti-Netflix original bias. I mean, one guy writing for Variety, he couldn't even hide it. At one point he says, it just looks cheap, like all Netflix originals. Like, really? So it's the story of the life of Doug Kenney and him founding this comedy empire in the 1970s. And what I love so much about it was, it's one thing to make a biopic that's a good movie that you learn a lot about the person's life. It's another thing to make a movie that really captures the ethos and the spirit of who you're making the biopic about, and the techniques they used and the style and genre of movie they chose to make it, I think was what he most would have wanted. And that's right from the start, where it opens with them making fun of these grand statements. He's a man who changed the face of comedy but couldn't change himself. And they're just kind of poking fun at that, and it sets up this vibe of not taking yourself too seriously, poking fun at yourself, being able to laugh at yourself, that continues the whole movie. They poke fun at National Lampoon. They poke fun at the director of this movie and the choices he makes. They poke fun at all movies and the things that all movies to some extent do. Like, at one point, there's this long scrolling list of all the different things that they took the liberty of changing with his life to make it flow better, etc. These kind of things that all movies, especially movies about historical figures, do. And if you are a fan of National Lampoon, you're really going to appreciate this spirit of poking fun and not taking yourself too seriously. If you're not a fan of National Lampoon or you don't know a lot about them, I think you're just going to love this movie, because you're going to be so blown away by some of these outrageous magazine covers and sketches that you can't believe they really got away with. And we get so many hilarious off-the-wall pitch ideas and sounding boards and brainstorming sessions. At one point, one guy has an idea for a game show that's called What's the Bat? And it's just contestants, and they fly bats at them, and they have to guess what bat is coming at their face. I mean, who thinks of this? And the other thing I really liked was this fascinating portrayal of the psychology of Doug Kenney and what makes him tick. We see how he uses comedy and these one-liners to keep people at bay, and to never really have these real, honest conversations with people. And we also see stylistically, the movie does this interesting thing where a lot of the most real moments and harshest moments of his life aren't actually shown the way the rest is shown. They're actually shown in a comic strip, or as someone giving a fake roast, kind of a fake comedy routine about it, or in a sketch. And we see that kind of ties in with this whole thing of kind of using comedy to avoid dealing with his issues and to kind of cope and to kind of never really address his deep-seated issues. Or his insecurity that no matter what he achieved, how much admiration and praise he got, that insecurity wouldn't go away. And this was most shown when he watches the movie Airplane, and everyone's laughing, and it should be this wonderful moment for him as a comedian to see this beautiful work of comedy, and he should take such joy, and that's what life's all about, taking that joy. But he can't. All he sees is insecurity and jealousy, and well, obviously this means I'm less funny and less people are going to be laughing at me. Immediately, narcissism makes it all about him, and it's just tragic because he can't really enjoy anything. And this almost pathological need for attention, at one point he makes fun of it and he says, why should I go talk to a psychologist about my need for attention? I should just make another hit movie and then be the center of attention. But you see throughout his life, whether it's the silly things, him putting his fist in his mouth as a kind of party trick, him flirting with someone and he actually bites a glass and has glass on his mouth, because again, he's that larger than life figure that always needs to be the center of attention, always needs to be praised and validated. And it's so interesting to compare this to his friend Henry Beard, who in many ways so similar to him, and yet because of a few key differences is always going to be happy no matter what he ends up doing, and on the other side is just constant misery no matter what the success. And just goes to show the only thing worse than being an only child, becoming an only child when the golden boy son dies.
Wrong kid died.
A few other things I should mention. On any rise and fall story, you're going to have the drug scenes. I thought these were handled really well. Seemed like the people behind the movie, they actually know about drugs. I just compare it to a recent movie, Molly's Game, which was quite good. But the drug scenes, it felt like people who never really had any experience with drugs, just researching or asking their friends. Here it felt like, no, they've done acid, they've done blow, they know what they're talking about. And if you love the dancing gopher from Caddyshack, seeing the behind the scenes of how that came to be, it's just perfect. And it's great that you can see on Netflix this movie because you can pause, and there's so many times where there's all this hilarious text that would be impossible to read if you're watching it in theaters, but because you're able to pause and you can read all the little effort that they put into making this hilarious fake copy, it's really interesting and worth pausing to read. and great performances all around. Ed Helms has this great little cameo as a conservative reporter. Joel McHale, he plays Chevy Chase, which is really interesting because him and Chevy Chase are both on the show Community together. And then Domhnall Gleeson just continues to churn out great performances. He's one of the most underrated actors because he plays such a different role every time. People don't make the connection, but another great showing by him. And I will say the lead actor reminds me so much of Clark Duke. Not the way he looks, more his mannerisms and how he conducts himself. The kid from the Hot Tub Time Machine movies, I just got a total Clark Duke vibe from him. I'm not sure why. And the director's David Wain. He did that cult classic Wet Hot American Summer, and then he did Role Models. That's the one that most people probably know. Another great showing by him. But bottom line, awesome movie. Great biopic that honors him without making him out to be a saint. Don't believe the critics who are bashing this movie. They're just mad that movie industry is changing and they don't like it. They're monopoly on power. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. Highly recommend.